This video is for entertainment purposes only. Well, hello everyone. Today we have thunderstorms rolling through, and so I think it's probably going to be a good time to change my front tire out. Not that the tire is that worn out, but the tire is one of the original tires on it from a 2007 Honda VTX 1300r, and so I'm going to change it mainly because of the age. Now, because of the rain, I can't keep the door open, so it might be a little bit echoey in here, but you're not here to hear me talk anyway. You're here to see what's involved in changing the front tire. Now, this is probably one of my least favorite jobs when working on my motorcycle. I can tell you one thing, you are going to definitely work up a sweat. Those of you that are really picky about your rims, there's also a very good chance you're going to put a scratch or two in them, even when using tire protectors. So that would probably be best left off to a motorcycle shop or something like that if that's going to bother you. So that's enough yakking. Let's get busy and get this job done. So the first thing I'm going to do is take the caliper off with two bolts right here, and those use a 12mm socket. Before I take the caliper off though, I'm going to take my screwdriver disguised as a pry bar, and I'm going to get in behind in the caliper here, and I'm going to pull the caliper a little bit, and that's going to push the pistons in the caliper back, and that's going to free up the brake pads. So when I go to drop the tire, the brake pads are not held tight against the rotor. And now I'm going to take the bolt out that holds the brake line to the front fork, and that is a 8mm socket, and that's going to allow my brake hose to pivot once I get the caliper off. And now we'll take the two bolts out here. The brake caliper mount. There we go. Careful so you don't scratch your paint up. And then I have a wire here that I'm going to use to hold the caliper so it doesn't put excessive force on the brake hose. Now at this point in time, I just have my brake caliper suspended there. It's not going to want to come out because it'll be wedged against the fender. But once we take the axle out and start dropping the tire, that's going to give us enough room to swing that caliper out of the way. Now I have the cycle up in a cycle jack already, and I am going to remove the pinch bolts. We got two pinch bolts over here and two pinch bolts over there. And to take those out, I'm going to use my 6mm Allen wrench. There's one side. And there's the other side. I'm doing this, showing all the stuff I do, and you may not want to see that, so feel free to fast forward as much as you need. But some people like to see everything, and so I'm going to show everything. Now to get the axle out here, we have a 22mm nut or bolt here. And we have a 17mm Allen wrench on the other side there. And so I'm going to go ahead and loosen that up. I still do have a little weight in the tire. I don't have it jacked up off the ground. And that just helps you keep the tire from flopping around. There we go. And let's just loosen it up here. Okay. Now we're going to start taking this bolt out. And I'll run it out all the way, and then I'm going to stick it back in, probably about 3 or 4 threads. And now I have it jacked up, so the tire's just off the ground. And I'm going to take a dead blow and start driving the axle out. Now I'll take the bolt out. And now I'm going to show you why I'm going to change this tire. If you look at the sidewall of a tire here, we have a date code of when this was made. This was made in 05 of 07. So that pretty well tells you that this was the original tire that was put on the bike. So it wasn't that long ago that I had this axle out, and so the axle's pretty loose in there, I hope. And I've got this punch here, and what I hope to do is just turn it and pull it out, just like that. Now you got to remember your caliper's hanging there on the other side too. So keep an eye on what's happening there. I'm actually going to straighten this out. And continue pulling. Well, maybe I'm going to turn it back. That'll give me both hands. The other thing I can do here is use my dead blow, kind of tap it out, and we can see it's coming out. And now I think if I take a little bit of weight off the rim here and tire, I should be able to keep hitting it with the dead blow. Okay, let me try that again. And there we have it. And we just heard on the other side a spacer drop out. And now we have our caliper freed up. So when the wheel dropped down, when I took the axle out, the caliper just dropped right out. And we can see here that we have a spacer that also dropped out. Now I'm going to jack the bike up until I have enough clearance for the tire to come out of the fender. Okay, let's see what happens here. Oh yeah, look at that. We'll sneak her right out. We see the other spacer and the seal here. Well, believe it or not, my camera just died, so I'm going to have to finish up using my cell phone. We'll see how that works. I've never done that before. So I've got my tire sitting on some cardboard, keep the scratches off and easier on your knees. One of the things about tires on motorcycles is most of the time they're directional. And so there should be an arrow. And if we look right over here, we can see the direction of rotation. When you put your tire back on, you want to make sure you put it back on with the direction of rotation in the right direction, or you're going to be taking it off and re-putting it back on. And I got the cap off the valve stem there. And I'm going to use this valve core remover to take the air out of it. Camera positioning when I need two hands is going to be kind of difficult, but what I'm going to do now is I take the valve core remover. I'm going to have to bend the valve stem out a little bit, and I just spin the valve core out, and you're going to want to hold on to that because it's going to want to fly out. So keep your fingers ready. And that is what the valve core looks like. And we have to take the weights off because the new tire that we put on are not going to use the same weights to balance with. So I'm just going to take a screwdriver and very gingerly pry that off like so. And we can see there's the weight. Now the method I use to break the tire off the bead is I use big C-clamps, and I'll put the jaw of the C-clamp as close as I can get it to the rim here, and then I'll just start compressing the C-clamp, and hopefully it'll push in on both sides of the tire and break it free from the bead. Some of the other things I'll do is I'll take silicone spray, and once I get a little crack developed there, I'll spray some silicone spray on there, and that helps the rubber tire slip and slide a little bit better. And this is a shot of the C-clamp there. You notice I've got it above the rim ridge there, so I'm not bending the rim. And then on the other side I have it above that rim there too, so I don't bend it. And we're starting to get a little crack in there, so I'm going to stop and spray a little silicone on it. And you can see we're starting to separate the bead from the rim, and this is where you really start sweating. And this is where, if anybody that has any common sense at all will have taken this to the cycle shop to get changed by now. And now I've started up with my second clamp here, and I'm going to start compressing the tire. All right. Even though that just about did an old guy like me in, I have managed to break the bead. And by compressing the bead with these C-clamps, and then coming out a little bit further with this tire spoon, I was able to just pry down until we got the bead to pop. So now I got my rim protector spaced around the rim here, and I have my tire spoons. So now what I have to do is try to pry the tire off the rim. And that's going to be a challenge. This thing's old and hard, so it's going to put up a fight, I can tell right now. And here we can see we've got a start. You want to pry in small chunks there to get it off there, and just work it around the bead. Use any tool you got at home that will work to your advantage. Okay, we can see right here that we did get the bead taken off the rim there. We do have one problem though, and that is the bead is still seated on this other side here. And I knew that was going to happen, and it makes taking this side of the bead off that much harder. But as stiff as this tire is on there, I would never get both beads to break at once with the equipment that I have here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat the same process. I'm going to put the clamps on the other side and push it off the bead on the other side of the tire. And so now we have the C-clamp on this side of the bead here, and we got to make sure we don't hit the rim here, and we're not hitting the rim on the other side. This should actually break easier. And we can see here, using the C-clamp, and then just coming in with the tire spoon and prying down a little bit, I was able to break the bead loose here on this side. You can see it's loose on all the tires, or all around the tire. And now with the bead completely broken on both sides of the tire, we're going to take our tire spoon here, go in, hook the back side of that tire, and then pry it over the rim. Okay, we got the tire off, and actually that came off easier than the other side, but I did put a couple scratches in it right here. Let's see, right here, and then I think there's a scratch somewhere else, but not too bad overall. And now I'm going to put a new valve stem in right here. I have a valve stem remover right here. And I do have the valve stem out. I wasn't able to use the valve stem remover because this rim is so close to the valve stem. I really am not fond of this rim here. I don't like the full center here. But now we will get a new valve stem and put it in. All right, we're back. And I got my camera working last night. It turned out to be two problems. It turned out I had a bad battery, and it turned out I had a bad memory card. So after replacing both of those, hopefully we'll have good luck today. I was going to put a steel valve stem into the rim, but when I stuck the valve stem in, it was actually too high. And being as there's limited clearance between the rim and the valve stem, I decided to go to the parts house and grab another valve stem. Let's see, if you're looking for a valve stem, the one that fit mine was 11.5 millimeters or 7/16 inch, and then it was 1 inch long. One of the things that kind of upset me after I thought about it a little bit last night is if I would have had a couple towels here, I could have put them on the rim and I could have avoided any scratches, but I just didn't think about it, and evidently these rims scratch real easy. So I got some towels here today, and I'm going to use those. It's going to be another hot and humid day, so I want to get this tire on before we get up into the, I think it's supposed to be 88 degrees today. So I got the new valve stem, and I got a little Dawn dish soap, and I'll just take that and put it on the rubber part there. So I just put my valve stem through and then screw the installer on there. And I'm going to use this dead blow hammer handle. And we just pull it up and in. Oh, scratch number 3. And basically we can just turn the valve stem installer out, and we got a new valve stem. So looking around the edge of the rim there, we look pretty good. We don't have any rubber buildup, so we really don't have anything to clean off. So I guess now it's showtime here with the tire. Now the bike originally came with Dunlop D404s, and I have run Dunlops on all my bikes. But this time I decided to try a different tire. I bought some Micheline Commander 2s. So we'll see how those things do. And now if we look at the tire here, we can see that we have a front. So this is a front tire, and the arrow's pointing that way, so that's the direction of rotation. If we look at the rotor, or the rim here, we got the rotor on this side, so the tire will be turning that way. So what I'm going to do now is take my little bowl of soapy water here and dip a rag in it, and I'm just going to wipe it around the bead of the tire. And let's see how much it's going to fight us. We're going to put the rim protectors on. Hopefully this goes on a little easier than the other one came off. There we go. And I don't know if this is just going to get in my way, but I'm going to throw the towel down here. And now what we have to do is we have to start prying the tire over the rim. And we'll take it in small steps. If I didn't mention it, this is where you start sweating again. Come on, there we go. This is where it's nice to have a extra helping hand here. But you use whatever body parts you have available. Okay. Let's try a re-grip there. Okay, we are just about there. I can find that other tire spoon. There it is. There we go. Sometimes you get hit in the noggin. That's okay, as long as you're making progress. Okay. I think I lost a little ground there. All right. Come on, puppy dog. Okay. Yes, folks, that's real sweat. All right. Let's see if we can't get this little bike to work. Oh, there we have it. There we have it. That's one bead on. All right. Then we will grab our rag here and wet the bead up a little bit with some soap to make it slippery. All right, let's see what luck we have here. Now, what I have to do, well, maybe we'll have to do that. Start with our first tire spoon. There's our second tire spoon. Okay, here's our third tire spoon. Okay. Okay, and we're just going to work our way around. Didn't have to move my rim protectors. Okay, we've got the rim protectors moved. Now we're just going to continue on walking it around. Added a little bit more soap. There we go. Let's see if we can get one more here. That's a little bit too big a bite. So we'll back it off. And we'll take another bite right here. Okay, we're going to have to stop and move some rim protectors. And now I'm going to try to push down on this side of the bead. We're going to take another bite here. Whoop, 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 whoop. Lost a little there. Get you back on. And let's see if I can get this on. Yes. Okay, now I'm gonna turn my tire spoons around here. Let's see if I can't continue on. Take a little bite here. That's good. We're stretching pretty hard. I don't like that, but okay. Let me get a little more soap here. Okay, that was pretty easy. All right, there we have it. Second bead is on. Now, let me take the rim protectors off before they fall in like the one already did. Okay, finally I got it out. Oh, wow. You know, the humidity is probably about 98% out here right now. And the sun's coming out. I gotta get this tire done so I can get in the air conditioning. Okay, now it's time to seat the tire to the rim. And I got a feeling, as hard as this went on, this should probably seat pretty easy, I think. So, we tip it up. I take one more look here to make sure my rotation is going good. And it is. Now this is where you got to keep your fingers out of the, from in between the tire and the rim. It'll take your finger right off. If I have trouble getting the tire to seat, what I'll do is I'll take a ratchet strap and wind it around the tire in the center and then start drawing it together. I've never had that not work. So we'll see if we're going to get lucky or not here. Look at that. Was I right? I do not like seating these. I have this bad dream of one exploding in my face. I'm just going to check and make sure, see how much tire or air pressure I got. I don't want to way overinflate it. It's actually only 28 psi. I'll probably take it up to about 41. That's the maximum inflation pressure. So now what I got to do is I have to look all the way around the rim, not putting your finger in between the rim and tire. And there should be a line, and that line has to be equal all the way around. So, I will just go around and check it out. And we do have the bead seated on this side. So now we need to check the other side, making sure not to put my finger in harm's way. And we are seated on that side. So we know the tire is seated now, which is good. So now you'd be thinking to yourself, hey, it's time to put the thing back in the bike. Well, you're wrong. I have used this product. It's called Ride On. I'm not making any money off this. I just have used it for years and years. And what it is, it's a tire balancer and tire sealer. So if you run over a nail or run over something, I believe it's up to 1/4 inch. You'd have to check their website. It will seal the tire, and that'll give me time to get back and get the tire replaced. If I have a hole in the tire, I do not patch, I replace. It's just my thing. I know other people believe differently, and I'm fine with that, but tires are what's between you and the road, and so my tires better be top notch or I'm not going to be happy. Okay, so you look up on the website how much to put in there, and the amount is 12 ounces. You can put a little bit more. There's a certain percentage over you can go if you want, and that's on the website too. But wouldn't you know, it always happens. If I get Ride On for the front tire and back tire, I'm always an ounce shy, and I have to buy another bottle of this. And I think I paid probably about $17.50 a bottle for it. So what we'll do is we will take the valve core back out, let the air out, and start putting the Ride On in. 12 ounces this tire takes. I will have a little extra because I had to buy the extra bottle, so I might go a little bit more than 12 ounces. The one thing about Ride On is it will not seal on the sidewall of the tire. It just seals on the bottom of the tire and, you know, up a ways. But if you hit something on the sidewall, you aren't going to get any sealing. I have ridden to about 36 degrees, and I've had no problem with the stuff getting thick or being out of balance. The Ride On comes with a tube for installing it, and it comes with a valve core remover. So we're going to take the valve core out, and remember what I said about holding on to the valve core when it comes out. It's going to try to shoot across the room, so make sure your fingers are ready to catch it, and also keep your hands away from there. Now if the tube wants to go in the valve stem a little hard, I just get a Phillips screwdriver that's bigger and shove it in there and try and stretch the tubing a little bit. And now we have the tubing stuck on there, and we just start squirting it in. Take your time. It's not a race. Get all this liquid gold out you can. And I'm going to put it in. I'm not going to run the video all the way. I'll come back once I have it all in. Then when you've got everything put in that you want, take your empty bottle, stick it on there, and give her a good squirt there. You'll blast air down in through the valve stem here, and that'll clear it out. It will not plug up your valve stem. Then we'll take our valve core, and we'll put our valve core in nice and tight. And now we're ready to air the tire up. Let's see, I'm going to have to go see what the air pressure is supposed to be on the front. And we're going to pump it up to 33 psi. Now I'm going to turn the camera off because I think the compressor is going to start. So all you're going to hear is the air compressor running. So we got the tire filled up to 33 psi. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get some Windex. You remember I sprayed silicone all over the old tire? Well, that's all over the rim. I'll get some Windex to take that off, and then if we look back here, we have the brake rotor. So I'm actually going to take a brake clean and clean that off. So if I got any silicone or any type of lubricant on this brake rotor, I'll clean it off with brake clean. So I'll be back after it's done. Now I wear a rubber glove when I use brake clean. To me, I think that's pretty nasty stuff. So now what I'm going to do is start picking up the tools that I'm not going to use anymore and try to cool off a little bit. Apologize for all the sweating on the video, but what can you do? And I have most of the stuff I'm not going to use picked up, but I think I'm going to take a little time for a nice cold A&W. Ooh, that sounds good. And one thing I want to mention is when I clean my rim with Windex, I did not use Windex with ammonia. I used the non-ammonia formula. And then when I get the tire on, once I get the tire on, I will re-wax it. All right, we're going to start with this angle right here, putting the tire back on, because I have to put the tire on and slip the caliper in at the same time. So, get the tire up here. And I'm just going to rest it on there while I walk around the camera. Turn the wheel here. Okay. I'm going to take that back out. What I got to do is I have to let the bike down a little bit. So we'll try to let it down easy with this jack. That's not the easiest thing to do. Okay, we'll try that, see how that works. Okay, so I have the rotor slipped in between the brake pads. And now I have to let it down just a little bit more, very carefully. Okay, now I'm going to start lining up my axle. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this lineup bar, and I'm going to stick that right through there. I'm going to try to bring the wheel up and start this lineup bar. Okay, you got that? My caliper fell out. That's not good. So we have to take it back down. And let's get the caliper restarted. And we'll lift it back. All right. So we have the lineup bar holding the wheel up. Now we can go to the other side and start the axle. I'm going to put my spacer in right there. And let me grab the axle and see what I got to do to finagle this in here. Just lift up and get it started. And now what I'm going to do is see if I can go to the other side here and push the wheel over. And I'm going to try to start this other spacer here. So, use that hammer there. Over a little bit. Got to be careful of the seal. You don't want to damage your front seal. Got the spacer in. Now I'm going to put the bar back in. The line-up bar. Okay. We have both tire spacers in. And now we'll try to get the axle to cooperate. By lifting it with my foot, the wheel, and moving it around a little bit, slowly but surely we're getting it in. Actually what I did is I put a little lube on the axle shaft there, and it slid in probably about 3 inches. Now we are on the other side here, and I do believe we are hitting the line-up bar. So I'll bring you back over here so you can see the action over here. And I'll start taking that out. And the axle's following it. We'll try it there. That took some of the weight off the tire. The weight of the tire's on the ground now. Well, guess what? My camera just died again, so I'm back to the cell phone. So I won't have complete coverage, but I will do things a step at a time and just catch little clips of it. So we're still putting the front axle in. I have the 2 spacers in, and I need to align the other side of the axle into the fork. Now the one thing to know is on the axle there is a little ring, a little groove all the way around, and that little groove should line right up with the fork. I'll see if I can get in. It's pretty hard to see, and with this phone I don't think it's going to do very good, but you're going to have to take my word for it. It's all the way up to the fork, the little groove is. Then I'm going to take my bolt here, start it in the end of the axle, and we'll just run that up by hand. Okay, I'm going to put the pinch bolts in next. There's 2 here and 2 over here, and this is a kind of a very strange procedure that they use here. But before I get into that, you know what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt that caliper up, the brake caliper. So we're going to come around here. We're going to take the caliper and put the oops, there we go. We're going to put the 2 caliper bolts in here, right there and there. And that takes the 12mm socket. And we'll get on here and torque the caliper bolts. Good deal. Now we're going to put the bolt back in the brake hose holder. And using the 8mm socket, we're going to tighten that up with our torque wrist. Click. Now here's one thing that you want to do right away. This is very important. You remember we pried that brake pad away from the caliper piston. We want to start pumping the brakes to move those brake pads back into the brake rotor. You can see we've got a nice firm lever now, so we know the pads are all the way out. Otherwise, if you take off, you go to stop, oh, that ain't going to be good. You aren't going to have any brakes. So now they're all pumped out. So now we're going to start putting the front end together, and believe it or not, the procedure for this is really wacky. I'm going to explain it to you. I would never believe it, but it's actually in the manual that this is the way they want you to do it. I talked about it earlier that there's a little groove in this axle that has to be right up against the fork. I have to put my 2 pinch bolts in and torque them down. Then I go to the other side and I torque my nut down here, or my bolt, my axle bolt down. Then I put my 2 pinch bolts in here and torque them down. I come back over here, loosen these 2 pinch bolts up, and then get on the bike and rock it back and forth about 3 or 4 times. Oops, sorry about the finger. Rock it back and forth about 3 or 4 times, and then come back down and torque these pinch bolts to spec. That's what the book says. I am not 100% sure why they do it that way, but who might argue? Okay, we're going to torque down the pinch bolts. Okay, so the camera work's not that good. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is come over here and torque the axle bolt. And we'll get this torqued. Hopefully I can do it one-handed. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is put in these pinch bolts here with a little blue Loctite on them. And now we'll try to do a little one-handed photography here. Get that torqued. And that's torqued. Now we're going to go back over to this side and loosen those 2 up. Okay, so we got those loose. What I'm going to do is let it off the jack, put the tire in the ground, hold the front brake, and rock it back and forth 4 times. And then we're going to retorque. Oops. And we're done. So, the new tire might have some oils on it, so you got to take it easy when you're first riding around. let the tire get a little wear on it. There's probably quite a few different ways to change your tires. This is the way I've always done it for a long time, and it seems to work. There probably is better ways, but with the equipment I have, this seems to work out pretty good. Now I did decide I'm going to change my rear tire yet this year. That tire has been replaced. That is a Dunlop, but it isn't a D404. I think it's a 550 something. So I want to run all Michelins on there, both Michelins, they'll both be the same. So that's going to be a future video. So as always, my way might not be the right way. In fact, it probably isn't the right way. So this is just kind of a basic video on how to. You can kind of see what it takes to change a tire on your bike. The video is kind of long, so fast forward through the areas that don't interest you. And I think I am going into the house, take a cold shower, and sit in the air conditioning. So apologize for all the sweating all over everything. It's kind of gross, I know, but nothing I could do. Well, we'll see you next time.